What is up, my thrifty friends? Tabs here from the Urban Goddess shop. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video, we have another work with me. I love to put these out on Mondays. They are long form content. You get work done and I chat your ear off for 45 minutes to an hour. We talk about everything reseller related, and I'm kind of like your favorite coworker, or I like to think of you guys as my favorite coworkers. If you're new to my channel, I'm a Canadian reseller. I'm a mom to 2 girls, a wife, I work part-time in a hospital pharmacy, and I love to sell used clothing. It is my jam here on YouTube, and this is where I share everything about my business and hopefully help other people like yourself build a side hustle reselling clothing. Today's video, we have so many topics to discuss. I am so excited. This is February 13th, and there is no lacking on topics, that's for sure. I love doing research for these. I always come up with like more topics, more questions, more things that you guys are discussing online or questions that you're asking in the comments. And I think it's just a really good chance for us to have these discussions out in the open. Okay, let's start this off with life and business update. Life. My voice is coming back. My cold is starting to drift off into the long gone away, somewhere far. I do have a little bit of a cough, I find, that comes out at night, but definitely like huge improvements this week, which I'm just so thankful for. I'm over it. It hasn't even been that long, and I am over it. So this week I was able to return back to work. We do have return to work policies, and yes, I follow them, but I was able to work 2 days, which is kind of my goal. And I was able to also do some work on my business. We had a gala to go to on Saturday night, so I did get dressed up, and I wanted to share something with you guys, and it's a little bit more on like a personal note, not necessarily a reselling note, but probably something that more people can relate to than they think. I hate dressing up. Like, I hate dressing up with a passion. Jeff knows anytime there's an event that's like work related for him and I have to dress up, it usually involves me feverishly going to multiple stores, trying on clothes, almost in tears, and just not really wanting to go. Of course, this event was kind of surprised on me. We just found out last week that his company was nominated for a couple of awards, and there's a group of us, so it's a gala, you get a table, you go and, you know, find out if you win. It is a dressier event, and I personally do not like wearing dresses like on a good day, any day. I am not a dress wearer. I definitely prefer to wear like dress pants and a blouse with a nice blazer over top, something like that. I have found over the last few years, and I mean, I'm going to say this is probably most of my adult life, my weight has like yo-yoed up and down. I'm either like healthy, taking care of myself, exercising regularly, eating to fuel my body, or I am doing nothing. I am eating every piece of cake and dessert and carb that I can consume. And it's just like, I feel like I have no in between. So part of me hating to dress up is that I feel frumpy. I try on a million things. I went to like 3 different stores on Saturday and just could not find something that I felt really good in. And I ended up coming home and I was like, oh my gosh, like I literally need to have an outfit to wear. And thank goodness I had some stuff in my Poshmark closet that I was able to pull an outfit together. So I ended up wearing a pair of Lulu like dress pants, probably from their like business line. I had a Babaton camisole and I had a Babaton power hip blazer in black. So I was in all black, nice leather loafers, and that's what I went with. But I just like, I wish I had better self-confidence sometimes to dress up. And it's funny because I generally love my body. Like I'm in my swimsuit in summer. I don't let other people's opinions affect me, but every time I have to dress up, this is where it comes out. Like, this is where my brain like plays tricks on me and convinces me that I don't look good. And even like, it's just silly. Anyways, I don't even know why I'm saying it, but I just wanted to say that if you ever feel this way, I can relate. I feel it too. And I ended up going out. I had a lot of fun. I wasn't dressed super fancy, but I was dressed dressy, you know what I mean? Not like casual. But I guess what I was gonna actually bring around into my personal life is that I have decided in 2023 to take back my health. And another area where I noticed that like I'm not, taking good care of myself is when we go snowboarding, I am so out of breath, like so out of breath. It's kind of silly because I never used to be this out of breath. And I know it's my health. I just haven't been taking care of myself. I'm also really quick to prioritize myself last. So I will prioritize my entire family, work, business, friends, everyone else, and I will put myself last. And it's easy to be like, I just don't have time to work out, or I'm just too busy to eat healthy or whatever. But it's just, 2023, I feel like I have a good grasp on my work. My family life is going good. And I think it's time for me to start taking care of myself. So I guess I'm making like a proclamation here on the internet that I am going to start working out. And as soon as my cold is 100% gone and I don't feel like I'm compromised while I'm working out, I am committing to going and doing some exercise classes with my girlfriend. And we used to do CrossFit together prior to the pandemic. And then when that happened, we both stopped going, and then we just never got back into it. So I think it's time again to start taking care of myself. I just had to throw that out there. What else? I feel like that was pretty heavy, but it felt really good to like say it. Okay, let's shift into my business. I was able to list 23 new items this week. And as of this video, I have sold 21 items, so that's pretty good. Not all 21 items are those 23 that I just listed this week, but my goal is to generally sell close to what I am listing, and that means I'm getting that good sell-through rate. So I've really been focusing on items that I feel have a good sell-through rate, and it's hard to be like 100% sure on that, especially since I don't do my comp checking on eBay, and Poshmark is my main platform. But I generally have an idea of what is selling, what people are looking for, and who my ideal customer is. So on that note, I am going to continue on the same path that I set myself to be on for 2023. Also, I'm going to have a what sold video coming out this Friday, and I'm pretty excited about it because sales have been good. I'm not having like high volume of sales, but I'm having high dollar of sales. And that's kind of that switch too, right? Like I'm no longer listing 40 to 50 items a week. My goal is like 30 to 40. And I think 40 is really high if I could reach that. And I mean, this week I was only able to get 23 up, but I'm okay with that. And my average sale price for this week, I just did like a really quick calculation, is $54.50. That's pretty dang good. I'm happy with that. That's kind of what I'm shooting for, right? Is to get over that $50 and to raise my hourly wage in 2023. So on the business front, things are looking pretty good. Okay, so I have some really good topics. Number one, auctioneer license to do live auctions, sourcing. Posh Canada rolled out some changes with automation. Also, live sales, are they ruining Posh? Because that's a really popular topic right now. Also, some interesting information about Poshmark ads. And then, there's a few other fun things that we're going to discuss. Okay, let's jump into the first topic. I'm just like scrolling down through my notes. This was sent to me from a viewer, although it was sent through Instagram. She said she had just seen a YouTube video, and there was a gentleman that, I'm just trying to fix the angle of this. There was a gentleman that just put out a video, and he was stating that, or speculating, I should say, that it may be required to have an auctioneer license to do live auctions online. I am going to link the video down below in the description. I encourage you to give it a watch because I think it has some really good information in it. I am going to give you kind of a Cole's notes, but again, I encourage you guys to watch it and to make your own interpretations. In it, he speculates that he thinks the laws may be changing soon. this is a fun fact I didn't know. In Ohio, if you auction more than 10,000 in sales, you are required to have an auctioneer license. I did not know that. Anyone here from Ohio, did you know that? And basically, he's speculating that when one state implements a regulation, usually other states follow suit. I think that was kind of how that whole maybe sales tax, and I don't know, he was talking about something with sales taxes, and one state started it and then all the states required it. So on like reselling platforms or whatever. And I think he has a good point. Now, he also does break down how much it costs to obtain an auctioneer license, and it seems to be running at about $2,000 to $3,000 with all the requirements. He did reach out to the state to inquire, so Ohio State, if these laws apply to eBay auctions and whatnot as two examples, and they stated yes, they did. So I guess the question is, do you think other states will follow their lead? I mean, I'm not in the United States, so it's hard for me to speculate because I'm not always familiar with how laws are passed down in the States. But I do know that a lot of times when things start to change for you guys, they also start to change for us, because I feel like our countries, do run similar law structures. So yeah, I'm curious what you guys think about this. I think this would have a huge impact on live sellers, and there's quite a few that are creating a very, very decent income doing this, and having to get a live auction license. It's not that it's difficult. I think it involves maybe I think he said you could do it online, and then it had some tests. He did say back in the day, you actually had to apprentice underneath someone who did auctions, and you would have to apprentice for like a year, but that has changed. Now you can take an online course, do the tests, and you're able to get your license. But yeah, I think it would be definitely like another barrier to entry into reselling, and it would have an impact on people that are doing live selling if that was pushed out into other states. It's definitely some time and money invested to obtain the license. But yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts. Have you heard of talks of this in any other states? If you're in Canada, have you heard talks about this in provinces? I have not personally heard of this in Canada. And when I did my quick Google search, there was nothing popping up. But I can see something like this happening, because it's just another, I hate to say this, it is another way for governments to regulate and make more money off of resellers. And I hate to look at it from that point, but I do feel like there really is not much opportunity for us to break away from control on that. Again, I encourage you guys to watch the video, listen to his points of view. He has a bunch of different links in the video as well, and facts to back what he's saying. So I did find it very interesting, and I thought it was worth bringing up, because I do think this could potentially, affect a lot of resellers that are doing live selling. Okay, let's move on to the next one. How many of you source more than you list? And not all the time, but it happens, right? Or maybe you've been sourcing and you just get behind on your listing. I know it's really easy for me to go out and source and find more items, and sometimes I struggle to prioritize listing, to actually be like, this is what I'm going to be working on. And then I guess the next question is, do you ever fall out of love with items? So when you fall behind in your listing, and sometimes it's like a month or two by the time you get to that pile, is there ever items in there that you're like, I don't know if I really feel as strongly about this or feel as confident in this purchase? Oh, here comes Callie. Hey, what do you want? I'm in here. I can see you. She's just trying to keep track of everyone in the house right now and figure out what is going on this Sunday evening. This is usually how my death pile gets out of control. It's usually when I'm sourcing more than I'm listing, and it's a very easy trap for me to fall into. And I do find a lot of times that when I go back to items in the pile, I'm not as excited about them as I was when I first found them. Now, here is what I am doing. This is a change that I am implementing, and I'd love to hear what your guys' thoughts are on it, because I do believe a death pile is healthy. I do believe that it is good for us to have, you know, whether it's 20 to 50, I guess this depends on how many items you're listing and how big your closet is, things like that. But I do think it's healthy to have 1 to 2 weeks worth of inventory to list in the event that you cannot go out sourcing, something happens, your thrift stores are dry, you just have a bad week or two of sourcing, like for any of the above reasons, that you do have some inventory that you can work through to keep consistent new listings going into your closet. So what I've come up with, and this is kind of a new thing, I've been doing it for a couple months, is my 2-step system. So I have behind me, this is the rack of items that I need to list. And to this side, these are the rack of items that I am collecting. Over 2 weeks, I will collect these items. I will do a thrift haul for you guys. Then those transfer over to this side and they become the items that I am listing over the next 2 weeks. And then it just kind of keeps cycling back and forth. Now, my goal is that I have to list all of this stuff before I can start onto the fresh things. No matter how excited I am, the only exception is if there is something that's like super seasonal. You know, like maybe in here I have something for Valentine's Day. I need to pull it and list it right away. That would be the only exception. This is like my own little method that I'm trying to set up to prevent myself from letting items sit too long, because I do have a couple IKEA bags here with sorrel boots that I maybe was like more excited about 2 months ago, and now I'm like, the weather has been pretty much like melting temperature for the last 3 weeks. I'm not very excited about winter stuff right now because it really hasn't felt like winter for the last month. And I'm now actually just considering storing some of this stuff till summer, till like August, when I start listing all my winter stuff again. Just because, I don't know, I'm ready for spring and summer stuff, and I feel like consumers and buyers are as well. So yeah, I do have this new kind of system, and I want to know, does anyone else run a similar system? Do you have something where you're like, I have to pull out of my death pile, I have to list those things that you're continually rotating out of the death pile into the listing and adding new stuff? And I know we call it a death pile, but it can be a money pile. It can just be inventory waiting to be listed. I also want to know, how many items do you have sitting in your death pile? Because I think this could be crazy. I've heard some really crazy numbers, and maybe you don't know the exact amount of items. Maybe you can measure this by IKEA bags or shopping bags or garbage bags. I would love to know. So this is pretty much the extent of my death pile. And then I have a couple IKEA bags with other items. Now, I will say, again, those IKEA bags are like my least desirable items that I want to list. But yeah, I thought that that was worth sharing, because there may be other people that are like, how do I get into this rotation? My death pile is getting out of control. I'm finding things that are out of season now, and this is my fix so that I'm always staying on top and rotating through the death pile. That way it's not items that are like sitting there forever. You know what I mean? Okay, moving on to the next one. I hope that helps you. I hope it helps you. The next one is POSH Canada. So POSH Canada made an announcement last week that they were going to be rolling out software that detects relisting. And basically, if you were using some sort of software to delist and relist items prior to the 60 days, that they were going to be finding those and marking them as the original list date. So basically saying that you were going to have to wait 60 days to relist it. They did roll this out, and I have it that it happened on February 8th. I think that was my best prediction based on my information and research. But I do want to say it has affected certain tools, but not all of tools. I did have a couple listings that were reverted back to original list dates, but it does not seem to be a problem anymore with the software that I am currently using. I do know that it is still impacted on some other softwares because I've talked to other people. All I'm getting at is that they did roll it out, and some softwares were able to get a fix for it, some were not. And I think that this is going to be coming down to the States. I know there's people who are like, happy they're testing it on Canada. Listen, it's easy to test it on Canadians because our buyer group is so small. So if they're getting the results they want, I guarantee it is coming down to the States soon. I also, on a side note, wanted to thank everyone for their recommendations on the stain removing and using OxiClean. There was a lot of different methods on how to use it, and I ended up just putting it into the wash, washing the light colored items on cold, and just putting like a big full scoop of OxiClean into it. I did run them, and it worked like 95%. I think if I would have soaked the items like a lot of people suggested, even if I would have soaked them for like a couple hours in the OxiClean with water and then washed them, I probably would have got better results. But anyways, this is the Terry item I wanted to show you guys, but it's like, I want to even say 98%. The only thing is I noticed a little bit on the cuffs. There's still a little bit of discoloration. I might still try soaking this item and then washing it one more time. As for the embroidery, there was no effect on it. It still looks the exact same as it did before I tossed it in with OxiClean. So I know there was a couple comments also that people said, be careful, OxiClean can also have like some bleaching effects, but it didn't seem to have any effect on the embroidery for this item. I also used it on that Wilfred rayon knit, like oversized cardigan. And same thing, it came out 98%. So I think I gotta toss both of these items into the tub, let them soak for a couple of hours, and then wash them one more time. But thank you so much for your advice because it worked. If you do not use OxiClean, I have a link down below, and I highly recommend you grab a container of the powder because I'm a believer. I have like a giant box that I bought at Costco, a giant box that in my lifetime I can't imagine using. I really haven't used it very often. I usually would toss a little bit in with towels, especially if sometimes when towels get, sitting out, they have like that musky or like mildewy smell, or at least they do at my house sometimes. I'll toss them in with that, but I wasn't tossing in with other laundry. I think now I am going to toss OxiClean in all my whites and lights loads. I don't think I'll use it in my blacks, but I am going to grab a bottle of that Peril, I think is the recommendation of everyone else, for brightening your blacks. I am going to try that as well, and I will let you guys know how it works and what my reviews are on the product. But I feel like it's going to be good because I've seen the like proof from other people using it, and yeah, I think it's going to work really good. So thank you so much for everyone that chimed in and helped, because I don't buy a lot of items that need to be washed or that have staining or that would require stain removal, and I'm a little bit new to having to do this. Also, I feel like just in general as our clothes as a house, I usually just use spray and wash, like Resolve. Like if someone, say you get like a grease stain on your sweater or whatever, I just use spray and wash, Resolve brand, and I'll drop a link for that one down below. And it works on like 99% of stains that we get. There's the odd one it doesn't work on, but I have had such good results with that. And now I'm going to add OxiClean to yellowing and discoloration. Good suggestion, guys. Okay. Next topic, are live sales ruining Posh? Yeah, we're going to talk about this. This has been such a hot topic lately on Instagram and online, Facebook, everywhere. And people are all over the spectrum. And I'm going to admit, myself, I have been all over the sliding scale as well. I go from, yes, absolutely, it's ruining it, to where I am right now. And it's like, I'm not sure if the live sales are actually ruining Posh. I know I have mentioned before that perhaps people that were doing live sales were being more favored in the algorithm, but I have done so much testing lately, like doing silent shows. I've done a few live shows. I've done a ton of silent shows, And I think I have some more information or insight into how any sort of live show, whether it's a live one or a silent show, may be affecting people's closet. I need to state, I do not consider myself a live seller. It does not really work for my business model, and I've talked about that before. It doesn't mean that they don't work for people or that they don't work successfully. They just don't work for the inventory that I have and my own personal cost of goods. I've tried some and I just haven't been able to figure it out. So I'm okay with that. I actually am just going to stick with traditional selling for the most part. Some of the things I wanted to address were, I have noticed that like certain brands and styles are very popular in low auction sales and like lower cost auction sales. And I think my own personal approach is going to be to raise my ASP and find more quality pieces, like more items that you are not finding in those live auctions. Now, I have heard of people doing live auctions with designer brands and super expensive items that aren't, being sold for as high value, but I feel like those are few and far between based on the shows that I've seen here in Canada. I do find that it's like certain types of brands, certain styles, a lot of them can be like older styles, and I'm going to do my best to source inventory that is not available in live shows. And then the people that are looking for my items know that they have to buy them through the platform. And I've also tried to do like just curated silent shows, like a Lululemon silent show, and I did 40% off list price and I sold one item. So I don't even think that it's the big brands that people are after. I think it's a certain niche that are buying into the Posh shows. I don't think all of the buyers on Poshmark are in those shows. And when you look at the viewers in the shows, some shows are getting high numbers, but there's also a lot of resellers that are just supporting their friends, are having fun, hanging out for the hour. I'm not convinced that every buyer is purchasing everything through live shows and it's tanking the sales on Poshmark. And then the other thing was, people have been saying that anyone doing live shows is being favored by Poshmark, or that people not doing live shows are being penalized. And I don't think that's true either. I think anyone who's doing live shows or silent shows, I think what they have going for them is that they get free advertising on the Posh shows page, right? So the section where it's Posh shows, it shows everyone having a Posh show. Basically, every time you set a show or a silent show, you are getting like a free advertising block for your closet on the Posh shows. That's how I'm looking at it right now. I think that whether it's a live show or a silent show, it doesn't matter. What happens is that when you have a photo with your closet and the title of whatever your silent or your live show is, people click on your closet, they look at your other listings, they're looking at what items you have loaded into your show, and that creates more activity, possibly them liking other items. Maybe they go in your closet and they're like, oh wow, I like everything she has. And these are people that maybe wouldn't have found you other ways. So that's why I look at it as kind of like a free advertising, and not necessarily that Posh is favoring these people, but you're getting more advertising being in the Posh shows. Do I think that that's an unfair advantage to people who aren't able to get into live selling right now? Absolutely. But unfortunately, I do not make the rules for Poshmark. I wish I had more say. I wish they would talk to me about their algorithm and their search features and things like that. But currently, I have no sway with Poshmark. So yeah, and I don't write the code for them. Yeah, who knows? Something I learned over the last year, like in 2022, that Poshmark isn't always the most forthcoming in what they're doing. And I think we all learned that last year. I don't know what's going on, but this is kind of what my rationale is around live shows and people making more sales. I also know there are a lot of people that are traditional sellers that are still making really good money and selling lots of items despite not doing live shows. Don't let that conversation run in your head. I think what you have to focus on is finding high quality pieces, or pieces with a good sell-through rate. Maybe they're not high quality, but they're in high demand, right? It's finding what the buyers are looking for right now. Okay. And the other thing I was gonna say about those silent shows, even though I've been trying to do all these silent shows, I have not made a whole ton of sales out of the silent show. So I have been making sales outside of them, but in the silent show, I'm typically only selling like one item in a silent show. And many of my silent shows, I'm not selling anything. And I refuse to do $5 and $10 starts in those. I'm just running them as kind of like a sale. I'm doing Aritzia items and it's 40% off list price, so whatever I have them listed at. Typically that's turning into like 70% off of retail price, and I still can't sell the items. So I just don't think the demographic of people that typically shop in my closet are shopping in live shows, and that's fine. I'm just gonna stick with my traditional selling. Okay, let's go on to the next topic. Here's another interesting thought, and I kind of wanted to talk about this. I've been trying to do some of my own independent research into it, but I'm finding it very difficult to get information on it. And I really want to encourage each of you guys to do some of your own digging into this and trying to figure out what's going on. Ads for Poshmark aren't showing up for everyone, and they're not showing up on all browsers, so like on all web browsers. For example, maybe use Chrome or Safari, right? And those are the two main ones that I was using. And I get ads when I go into the newsfeed as a shopper and I go to like say women's categories and I'm just generally looking at women's, I will see ads popping up in that. Now, what I want you to think about is I'm not convinced that Poshmark is putting these ads in, and I'm wondering if this is a security breach on the browsers, okay? So I'm gonna explain everything in here, and then I encourage you to kind of do some pondering and maybe some of your own research. Why are they only showing up on PCs? That's my first question. I did have a blog before. I used to do furniture refinishing. I could place advertisements into my blog, and when I placed advertisements in there, like coded them in, they would show up regardless of whether you're on mobile or on your computer, right? They would always show up. And everyone does Google searching on their phone. You know, ads show up for various websites, right? So what I've noticed is that it only shows up for me on Chrome and Safari web browsers. I did download Firefox and opened up Posh, and there was no ads. I find that very interesting. Would I not have ads no matter how I'm viewing Poshmark? If it's on a computer, no matter which one I'm viewing it on, wouldn't I have ads if Poshmark was coding these in? And could this explain why we are not getting them on mobile? So I encourage you to do your own digging. I encourage you to try opening up Poshmark on different web browsers, depending what you use, and going into say like the women's feed and as a shopper and seeing if ads are showing up. I did reach out to Poshmark Canada to confirm if Posh is indeed placing ads. I have not heard back from them prior to recording this video. Now, I don't even know if they're going to tell me this. And I feel like this is kind of going down a rabbit hole, but it really has been bugging me. Why are some people getting ads and some people aren't? And how come it only shows up on certain web browsers and not others? Doesn't show up in mobile? Like, it just doesn't make sense. I'm wondering as well, this is kind of like going down a rabbit hole, but I start thinking about these things. Why did Posh start cracking down on bulk uploading? Why did they choose that was what they were going to crack down on? Why is automation all of a sudden becoming a top priority for them? And it's funny because those ads started popping up not too long ago, and now they're starting to crack down on this. Part of the theory is that the ads may be popping up as a security breach on those web browsers. And that's why when you're on your mobile phone or when you're on, for example, when I was using Foxfire, I'm not getting ads because in reality, Poshmark wasn't placing and coding the ads in. These are actually happening because of third party through these web browsers. So I cannot confirm whether this is true or not. And Posh has not come out and absolutely, stated that they are now placing ads in the app, but this is just some speculation. So I would love to know what you guys think. Are you seeing ads? What kind of web browsers are you using? Have you seen them on your mobile phone? I am encouraging all of you guys to help me a little bit with this research and trying to figure this out, because at the end of the day, I'm at the point where I am not convinced that it's Posh quite yet that has placed them, and they haven't stated it. Now, after this video, maybe they will, maybe they're going to come out and tell us what's going on, but at this point, that's what I'm curious about. So again, please drop in the comments, share your thoughts, do some research, let me know what you guys find or what you think. Okay, one more thing we are going to talk about. This is kind of a big thing, and I'm surprised I didn't hear about this anywhere else. I did have a viewer reach out to me and comment this, saying that she was working at a thrift store and they have been pulling and discarding merchandise, and the brand is Helly Hansen. So I'm going to put a link down below. The issue was flammability. Buyers are encouraged to discard and contact manufacturer for credit. The recall includes a selection of sweaters and hoodies. The affected products, which incorporate brushed cotton fabrics that have undergone a specific treatment, either do not or may not comply with the textile flammability regulations. If you're not sure if you have any products, but you want to check out this link, please feel free to do so. Of course, I also did like a quick search after that, because I was like, oh, maybe there's some other big brands that have a recall. And let me tell you, do not Google stuff, because you are going to come up with more information than you intended. It did pop up some stuff. Keep in mind, this may not be new news to you. We do not have cable TV. We just run like Netflix, YouTube, Crave, I think we have, and we don't consume the news. Like, we don't watch the local news. We don't consume mainstream media. It's just personal choice of ours. So some of this may not be new news to you, but Giant Tiger, which is kind of like a discount shopping chain of stores here in Canada. I think they may have similar stores in the States. I'm sure you guys do. But anyways, there's a giant recall on sleepwear, robes, and ski pants, and they all had presence of mold in them, which I was like, oh my gosh. Number one, I don't really shop at Giant Tiger. There's not one close to me. I was like, that's crazy, because a lot of people do shop at Giant Tiger. Another interesting recall that I found, and this was, I guess, in the news recently, was there was a big recall on dry shampoo from Dove, Bedhead, and Tresemme, and they were all due to the detection of a cancer-causing chemical. What? Like, how does this happen? Also, another recall that I found, and this one was from December 2022, but like literally 2 months ago, there was a recall on over 87,000 units of children's clothing found to have traces of lead. Now, I know this is not something new. This is happening quite often, but these were clothes that were sold at some like bigger chain stores. So I was really surprised on that. My tip to you, my word of advice, do not start Googling stuff if you don't want to be overwhelmed, because it was just crazy the amount of recalls. I was looking through and I was like, man, you could spend a whole day just looking through recalled items. And when I think of recalls, I think of like when I go to Costco and they have that board up at the front and it's like all these items have been recalled recently. That is just the tip of the iceberg. That is literally just the tip of the iceberg. And the scariest thing actually about a lot of these recalls that I was looking at, most of them are children related. Like, most of them are children's items, whether toys, car seats, high chair. Like, it was just so crazy, the recalls. But anyways, I think the one that applies to most of us is Helly Hansen, and I don't know how it applies to resellers. Like, I don't know where liability would fall into that. I don't think all thrift stores are, because I was recently into My Value Village, and after I read that article, I was like checking in the sweater section just to see, and there was a ton of Helly Hansen stuff there. So I'm not sure if all thrift stores are doing this, but obviously some of them have been pulling inventory. Okay, guys, that is it. That is all I got for news. Let's wrap today's show with something fun. And I saw this on Instagram the other day and I thought, oh man, I haven't talked about Poshmark myths in a long time. And I thought it'd be fun to do the topic of let's share. What is a Poshmark myth that you believed when you first started reselling? And it can be anything, because I'm sure some of the ideas that we're going to have are just going to seem so crazy now that we are seasoned resellers. And if you're a new reseller, read through the comments, because there may be things in here that you think are true that we're just going to tell you they ain't true. Don't believe it. My reseller myth, something that I truly believed in when I first started, was that you had to have a huge closet of like over 1,000 items to make daily sales. And I just thought that like only big resellers that had all these items could make daily sales. And that is the furthest from the truth. So if this is what you think, I'm going to tell you it is 100% false. Currently, I run about 400 active listings in my closet and I make daily sales. I want to tell you it has less to do with how many listings you have and more with how desirable are the listings that you're selling? How desirable are the items you're selling? What is their sell-through rate? Are buyers looking for these specific brands, styles, colors, trends, whatever you have? And if you can focus more on doing research into what is selling, looking through the solds in various categories for specific price points that you're trying to sell for, I think you'll be able to make daily sales with much less. And one of the things that made me think of this as well is that someone had messaged me and they asked, at what point do you think do people start making daily sales? Is there like a certain number of listings? And I think it has nothing to do with listings. I think you could have 20 items in your closet, and if they are desirable and people are looking for them, you could make daily sales. I mean, obviously you have to have consistent listings going in, but if you listed 2 items a day and they were desirable items, you can make daily sales. So daily sales have nothing to do with the amount of items you have in your closet, but if it's items that people want. So please drop down below. I cannot wait to hear all your guys' ideas and myths and just your input on these various topics today. Please feel like this is a safe place to kind of share your thoughts and for us to work together as a community. All right, I am going to let you guys go. I hope you enjoy this video. Thank you for tuning in. If this brings you value in your reselling business, make sure to give me a thumbs up. And also tap subscribe on your way out. Okay guys, I am wishing you all many sales, lots of extra sales right now, and I will see you next time. Bye.